Hello lads, Rob here again from Kickback Garage. Today we are going to be carrying on with the TV175. Yeah! Roll the intro. Buongiorno. Buongiorno. Well, I really need to get some speed up on the old TV175 rebuild, so I decided to do that now. And the reason why I've been waiting is because I've been waiting for parts, and those parts are the engine cones, or the frame cones, so I can fit the engine. So that's my goal today, is to get the engine ready and throw that in the frame. So that'd be cool, and when it's up on two wheels, yeah, then it's getting closer and closer every episode. Anyway, while we're on the build talk, while I'm jabbering away as we do, I was talking to Steve, the Steel Weasel, skinny bugger, about my dilemma with the airbox, running a cob through the airbox, a bigger cob. I wondered if I needed to drill some holes in there, and I got some advice off him, and I think I'm going to see if I can talk to him now. Let's have a see. What's he say? This is what he says. I hope it works with the microphone here. I'm pretty sure it will.
But mate, yeah, if you've emptied the airbox out, you shouldn't have to drill any holes in it. It's only a 25mm. It's not that big really, is it? And I wouldn't drill holes anyway. Holes are bad for flow. If you're going to make any modifications, do it at the back of the airbox and cut the back of the airbox out. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where the TS1 carb would be, cut that whole section out and just have an empty box. I think they do some bigger volume air hoses. Obviously you want to run as bigger volume air hoses as you possibly can. The main restriction is right in front of the carb. So the bigger volume you can put right in front of the carb, the better. The airbox itself, as long as you run with the aftermarket filter, I think BGM do one, and all the bits out the inside, it should be okay, I reckon. All you can do is suck it and see, my friend.
Suck it and see, my friend. Well, so what he was saying there, if you didn't quite catch what he said, is because I'm running a 25mm carb, the most important thing is to have air volume in front of the carb, and I have got the Screwtopia extra volume rubber hose that goes to the air tank, so that's good. But basically, what he's trying to say there is, if I drill holes in the airbox, I'm going to get air turbulence, and that's going to affect the way the engine runs. So what I've decided to do is I'll not drill the airbox, and I'll fit it as planned, and if it runs like a bag of shit, then we'll take the airbox off, or we'll keep the airbox in. We'll just put another type of filter or something on the carburetor there. So then it's really quite pointless really. So what I reckon we'll do there is try it with the airbox with that air hose. And I've got the BGM super duper see-through fantastic breathe fast filter, and it should really run okay like that, and there's not really much point drilling the holes in. Another bad thing about drilling the holes in the airbox is the fact that it'll suck in shitty air from under the panels, and that's not really what we want to do. It sort of defeats the object of having the airbox, apart from the fact that we want it to look sort of original, if you get my drift. Right, so that was point number one. And point number two I want to do before I start cracking on is, David asked me if it was easy to fit the engine in the JB engine stand that I bought last week. And the answer to that is yes, but me being who I am, I'm going to stick it in there and film it so you can see how easy it really is. Just to clarify things, basically. Come on. Right, David, I hope you can see this. It's a bit of a mess, as usual. It's a bit of a mess here, Kickback Garage. But what I do first is, the easiest way I found really is, and you can't see my head either, which is probably is a good idea, really. But anyway, the engine, fit one nut on the engine bolt, okay? And then, obviously, ease this round so that it's facing the correct way. Bing. Oh, I love that. I'm so pleased with that, I have to say. Right, so I just cradle the engine in my arm like this, and you hook it up in there. I obviously make it look really hard, and basically if I just hold that there, it's stood there already without needing anything. So I fit the rear nut here, and it's by itself without having the bolt in, and then you just have to line up the holes and line up the holes, and then it's a case of bolting up the other side, and that's job done. I hope that clarifies everything, Mr. David. Just for you, mucker, just for you. Right, I'm just going to fit the side case on this. I don't need to film that, but what I thought I'd say was, if you've never done a build before, all you need to do with the gasket is grease it. I've never, on a Lambretta, touch wood, I have never had to resort to using some sort of gasket sealants, and that basically makes it a lot easier to take apart and stuff like that when in future days. Right, and point number 2 before I cover all this wonderfulness up is this. The Casa Performance chain tensioner, a very good bit of kit, but one to watch here is, do not tighten these too tight. Because if you remember, like 100 years ago, this time last year, I've got a video called Funny Noise in My Scooter or something like that. And that funny noise was actually me over tightening the chain tensioner. And that thing makes a real racket. So you should really have about, I don't know, about half a centimetre of movement there. And that's what I did basically on mine. I just slackened it a little bit, and no more noise. So that's also one to watch. So let me do this, and we'll come back to putting the rear hub on. Right, that was a bit annoying. I just noticed that the adapter to my microphone was a bit skew-whiff there. So I'm a bit worried that the sound from the intro didn't work. Right, so this is a side case fit. I have fit the BGM exhaust bracket, and I have adjusted the kickstart ramp so that I get engagement about a centimetre from the top there. It's important that you've got this little bit of free play at the top. The reason for that is that if you don't have free play at the top, then you can risk the plunger, kickstart plunger, touching first gear, and then you get this like chatter when you start up. Right, so that was that bit done. Next bit, oh, I love this. Oh, it's just so satisfying. Right, so next job, what was that? Yes, next job. This is a bit of a moment of truth situation. I think I'm going to have to move you up a little bit. Let's have a look. Maybe a little bit round. I have to look at my camera. There you go. Where are we? There. So that's about right, isn't it? What I want to do now is I will really want to fit this, and it's a bit of a moment of truth for me because I'm not sure it'll fit with the manifold. There's always some fettling to be had done with these things, especially if you've gone for the longer crankshaft variant like we have. But the only thing I can see, I might have to cut away a bit here, which is such a shame on nice new paint. But I'll put some anti-rust treatment or something on there. But the exhaust, yeah, it sort of covers the screws, the bolts to the inlet manifold, and it covers the. Let's have a see if I can bring around here. Can you see that? Yeah, yes you can. So if I lift this up, you can see, oh, I really don't want to scratch this paint. It's lush. It's lush. Right, so you've got these bolts. They're quite handy to get to when your manifold is in place. And also on the BGM Clubman, you've got 2 springs, one on each side here. And they set those quite far out there. So let's have a look. I might be able to manage there. I might have to make this a little bit bigger, but this definitely. I might have to just basically so the spring doesn't. So, let me mark that. Let me mark it. I bought this bracket. This I bought from Mr. Darryl Taylor. And this is a spacer, bunk, so that I've got a bigger chance of the manifold fitting properly. So we've got that there. And try again. It's not really, what's it catching on now? What are you catching on? It is not catching on the manifold. That's a bit odd. Alright, yeah. It's not sitting there because it's catching on the bolts for the exhaust here. So, what I'm going to have to do, it looks like the manifold clears it, which is, yeah. Definitely, the manifold clears. So that's good. The intake manifold is fine. But the exhaust, not so fine. So I'm going to have to, I think the spring is there. So seriously, I'm going to have to take quite a chunk out of this. Such a shame, eh? Going to have to do something like that, I reckon. It's just to give me clearance for the spring and so I can get to those bolts. Here, we haven't got bolts whatsoever in view. So as you see, they're there. So if I can hold this damn thing. Holding. There you go. Yeah, so I'm really going to have to go to town on this bit. I'm going to have to take it right off there and up from that little groove there, I reckon. So remember, lads, when you're fitting stuff like this, it's a good idea to check your manifold before you send it off to the painters. Right, so it's Dremel time. Right, so I had to be pretty brutal with that, to tell you the truth. Basically, hang on, I just got to line it up with the hole there. There you go. Basically, you don't want your spring interfering with your head cowl here. It can rattle and make noises and stuff like that. We don't want that. And this one is quite deep in there as well. And because of the way the exhaust is, you need to make clearance there. A little bit too much here, but that's life. So basically, I have to dress this now. You see, I just used a file on that one there, trying not to damage too much of the paint. So what I'm going to have to do, unfortunately, is scrape off this paint here, and I'm going to put a coating of like rust proofer there. And another one, I had to take a tiny bit of a hook, a little circumference off the inlet manifold as well, because it was touching there as soon as I got it past the exhaust port. So, what to do? Yep, so I'll paint this and I'll fit the head cowl in. So that's another job almost done. Right, so that's the head cowl sorted there. It shouldn't have any interference with the springs, nuts or anything like that around here. The manifold, it's got a couple of millimeters of clearance there. It's just so it doesn't, it's just so annoying. I mean, stuff that's touching metal on metal, so you get lots of vibrations. I prefer to use Allen head bolts for the cowling here. Also on the flywheel cowling too. And as sort of two condoms, if you will. It's a flat washer, a spring washer, and I also use a dab of blue Loctite, because these little buggers, they love to vanish when you least want them to. So just tighten those down there evenly. So that's the reason why I've got, if you've got a long stroke crankshaft, it's a good idea having a spacer here. You can make them yourself, but yeah, it's not my build, so I sent him off to Daryl Taylor to buy that there. It's just so it sits better, because otherwise you get like an awkward angle on the manifold. And to tell you the truth, I haven't got this on mine, and I've got a 62 stroke crankshaft, and it's a bit of a mess. That's something I want to sort out at some point. Got this little top bolt here. Also use a flat washer and a spring washer. That's one of the other ones that likes to vanish. No point tightening the crap out of it, but you want it to sit. There you go, should do the job. And oh, that's really good. Yeah, I like that. Let's put this spark plug back in there, because I don't want any crap going in there that shouldn't be in there. There you go. And this is what it looks like on the underside here. It's just so that the spring doesn't rub and vibrate on the head cowling here. And I can just sort of hook it in there. So that's good. And yeah, great. So next job is the hub, I think. Right, lads. Wake up and pay attention. This is probably the most important thing you'll ever see on Kickback Garage, ever. And I'm not joking. This is really, really important. So, when you fit the rear hub, make sure that your splines on the lay shaft are pristine. Really, really important. You fit this, which is special shim that goes under the cone, and when you're inspecting the cone, you can see this has got some marks on it, which is actually pretty normal for a used cone. Then you use a straight edge and make sure you don't see any air in between the straight edge and the cone. And I've gone all the way around this one, and it's fine. But they can end up with a groove. If you've got a groove in your cone, throw it, bin it, get rid of it. It's no good. And then you have to make sure that your cone is the correct one for the hub. And the reason for that is because early Series 1 cones, they have a 20-degree chamfer. The middle series Lambrettas, if you will, they have an 11-degree chamfer. This is an 11-degree chamfer. And the later Series 3, they have an 8-degree chamfer. So it's imperative that you fit the correct cone for the hub. If you have problems sliding the cone down, you can open it up a little bit with a screwdriver, just so it sits on there properly. And it's also important that you've got this groove in the, or groove, like a slat on the cone. That's got to sit on one of the splines on the lay shaft. Okay, are you with me? I reckon you're with me. The annoying thing is, if I've got some paint on the splines here, so I'm going to have to remove that. I'll do that first. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? That was about half an hour's worth of paint removal on the splines with a needle file, just to get rid of just sort of scrape it off there. Right. When you've entered the hub onto the cone, then you have a washer. This one is slightly thicker than a normal washer. I think the reasoning behind that is that you get a more even pressure on the hub there over a bigger surface area. But this is the MB kit. I'll show you that later. And then you have the nut. Like that. Looks very posh, doesn't it? There are some rules here that I adhere to when it comes to fitting rear hubs, original type rear hubs. The first one is never ever use a pneumatic ratchet, because you can end up shearing the lay shaft, or even worse, you can end up damaging the lay shaft without seeing it, and your rear wheel will part with your scooter. Now, I have seen this in action, and it has happened to me too. So it's really, really important that you do this correctly. Okay, lads, safety first. I always use this tool here. There are various dealers. I think I saw one at JB Fabrication as well, the lad who makes the engine holder. But this is basically, this is a TV175 rim, Series 2 rim, that this tool I made at least 20 years ago, and it's really, really easy to make. It's just 2 bits of rod, make it into a triangle. I didn't take any measurements or anything. It's just got to hold the rear hub. Right, lads, I've fit the tool, and it does say in stickies that you can use apply the rear brake to do this job, but I mean no. And the reason why I mean no, don't do that. I mean, as a roadside repair, yeah, sure, why not? Give it a go. It might get you home. But the problem being that when you apply the brake, it actually makes more pressure for you to torque down the rear hub, and it might give you a false reading. Now, all these different cones, the 3 different cones that I've mentioned at least, they have a different torque value that they need to get that cone clamped down on your lay shaft. And this cone that I've got in this one requires... Right, folks, I am about to say Newton meter, and obviously I don't mean that, I mean foot-pounds, okay? And thanks to Klaus for spotting that one, and yeah, carry on with the film. 110 Newton meter, or really between 110 and 120. Stop! I mean foot-pounds, not Newton meter. Foot-pounds, not Newton meter. Newton meter. So the best way to do this really is tighten it up to 110. Then we lay down the locking ring, and we tighten it up until the holes line up with lock ring. So there's going to be some humping and grunting here. I might have to delete this, but we'll see. we'll see, because 110 Newton is actually quite hefty. So let's see how it goes. Oh Jesus, there, it's hard work. Wait, 110, not bad actually, that wasn't too bad. I'm going to have to remove the paint around there so that the so that the thingy sits flat. That's what happens when amateurs paint stuff. That was actually pretty handy. So what I think I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that back off that nut. And I'm going to see if I can take the paint off. I was going to use the Dremel, but I thought if I do it this way, I think that's off actually. So I'll, I think this is the sort of stuff normal people would delete, but you know. This is real life working. Oh, Jesus Christ, Superstar. Alright. See if I can swing that all the way around. Let's have a look. Yeah. Not bad, not bad. Right, let's see if I can get that off. with the little puny one. Oh, God. Oh, I'm in danger of this sounding like a 70s porn film. With a grunting. Right, so that was nice. That removed the paint nicely, that did. So I can take it off with my hobby knife. It's like when you paint these, you've got like a little recess here. It's not a good idea to paint the recess, because this can also give you a false torque reading. So put this back on, swing that around. Tool. It's really, really important to get this right, because, like I said, I saw one lad, he went into a mountainside when I was on a rally, 2006, and that wasn't fun. I think he broke his collarbone, and yeah, but just imagine, losing the rear wheel, not good. Do this one by the book. We can do lots of shortcuts, but this bit, definitely not. So let's see if I can get it up there again. This is where that fat belly comes in handy. Right, and then we've got the locking ring. Right, I'll try and bring you a little bit closer, see if you can see there. Let's have a look. Put it down there. Right, you can see I'm slightly out on the holes on the lock ring. So I'll turn the, I'll just put you there first. I'll have to line up the camera again. Oh, it's a lot of work, you know. It's more work when I'm filming for you lads. There we go. And I reset this to 120, sorry. And that's about, I don't want it any higher than that. So if I'm lucky, I should be able to line up the nut with the holes without exceeding that amount of torque. I mean, how much have I got? I've got about 1 millimeter to go here. And I just keep an eye on the... Oh, Jesus! That is a testament to the frame stand. There you go, that's lined up. That has lined up the holes perfectly. What that also means is that I'm not over 120 because I didn't get the clickety click. Now the MB kit, it comes with 3 of these hex keys or bolts, and it's got a recess in there as well, so they sit slightly more flush. So this should, in theory at least, it should make sure that the rear wheel doesn't fall off. Now I like to use, I've tapped these holes, and I like to use a little dab of the blue Loctite on those. Blow, it's blue Loctite. Nicely there. Now you can, if you want, you can fit the exhaust now before you fit the engine, but because I'm doing this alone, I think I am actually going to fit it without the exhaust, and I'll fit the exhaust in the scooter. It might be slightly more faffing around, but at least I'm not going to get the exhaust catching on something. Won't you look at me now? Right, so this is how I find is the easiest way to fit the engine in the frame. I just plonk it on under there, and I put a little bit of grease on the contact areas of the rear shock, here and here, just to help ease it on and to prevent corrosion, and put a good blob on the engine cones here. These are the frame cones, 2 different types. One type for the skinny engine mounts, and one type for the newer type engine mounts, the big ones like we've got on here. So I just plonk that in, just to keep that stable there. Hang on. Same on the other side. Then I lube up the engine bar. That's just so you don't get corrosion, and it's going to be a pain in the arse to drop down at a later date. Just got that one there. And then I fit the rear shock first, because that tends to line up the engine on the frame. Like so. I'll fit the bolts loosely. Just so that it doesn't slide off there. And basically we just lift up the engine. Like this. Slide in the engine bolt. I've got it in on the one side. See if I can ease it in on the other side. Right, she's lined up there. Where the hell is my rubber hammer? I had that in my hands 3 seconds ago. Gotcha. And then it's just a case of tightening it all down, and that's the engine in the frame. And fantastic, that's going to be really cool. Let's have a take her around and have a look, see what she looks like. So here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the engine in the frame. So next video, we're going to be fitting cables and wires. And that is going to be really cool, because I know we're getting closer and closer every single episode. Well, there we have it. Engine in frame. We're cooking on gas. So I hope you enjoyed this little video, lads. And give me the thumbs up. Do the old subscribe. Press that bell. And buy merch. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video, lads. Ta-ra! As you can see, got just enough room for the spring. So I'll hook it in on the inside here. And it also gives me what the fuck, stop bubbling. Just put the spark plug back in there so I don't end up with, what are you doing? What are you doing, you